What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical on me. It is 5:10 on the East Coast on a hump day, 2:10 West Coast, 4:10 Tennessee time. So, of course, it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. I'm speaking fast because it's a 13-game slate, and we have to economize. We have to maximize our minutes today. Not a lot of pleasantries, but let's say hello to the Chief. Will, we got him away from the prop shop for a second. He's probably still on there, to be honest. If you guys are not hanging out in the prop shop, Will tell you why you should do so in a second. It is free. We have premium channels here. We have in our Discord, we have non-premium channels. For whatever reason, somebody said, let's make this for everybody. You don't even have to be a premium member here at RG. You can hang out there. And Will, are you still lurking? Are you pulling double duty right now?
No, I'm not. I've got my stuff posted in the prop shop in terms of when I'm going to drop NBA content. So most people know, if they've been in the prop shop for, any amount of time now, they know that I'm not going to drop NBA, parlays or any props that I'm on until after 5:30. So anywhere between 5:30 and 6:15, that's typically when I'm going to put that information in there. Having a ton of fun in the prop shop. Kind of had a monster night, not last night, but I think the night before. It's kind of a monster. Got really close to a monster night last night. And man, LeBron James fantasy points just kind of let us down the stretch. And that's mainly because they were blowing out Boston. If they don't blow him out, he gets there and, we run to the finish line. And then it's like, you think in retrospect, man, why didn't I just take the points?
Why didn't I Taco Tuesday discount, right? He got there in the discount. But
his regular was like 46, and LeBron's kind of been smashing, but it's been closer games and competitive games. At any rate, come on in, hang out in the prop shop. Plenty of stuff in there for everybody. Soccer, CSGO, Rocket League, NBA, a little bit of NHL. What else? Anyway,
you got like a Rocket League guy in there? Is there like a Rocket League specialist that throws some picks in there?
Hey, listen, man. There's a guy by the name of I Suck at DFS. Dropped some Rocket League in there today. Went 3 for 3. Hey, we're all about money making. We don't care what it is. We're going to grind the line all the way through.
Yeah, for sure. I'll play some of that Rocket League, and why not? I don't care what it is. If it's a winner, there's like cricket, all sorts of crazy sports are listed on Prize Picks.
Yeah, we just want winners, Dean. Winners.
I don't care what it is we're wagering on. If it's a W, it's a W. All right, Coolerchi, Justin, what's going on, dude? 13 gamer. We're gonna break it down in a second. Super excited for this slate. It's gonna be a good one. By the way, speaking of last night, we should give a shout out to Jamino. Jamino on our projections team. Jamino on the ownership stuff. I don't know if you guys saw this. He won six figures. That's including the 0.00. 100K. He won the big contest on DK last night. So shout out to Christopher Jamino. And he didn't quit. As far as I know, he's right back working today. He's plugging away. He's with
do my 6 figures count? If it's 4 with 2 after the decimal point?
No, I don't think so. I think I won that too. Maybe I close to that. Maybe a little less than that, but it would have been better if Boston didn't call off those Boston in the front have a back-to-back. You're playing against the Lakers and you're down 15 and 5 minutes to go. Like, yeah, that's it. Let's just go home. That was unbelievable. I don't know if you guys were watching that game, but like 15, 5 minutes like in change. Like, yeah, let's throw scrubs in there. All right. Who cares? Jamino won 100K. So good for him. What's up, Lucci?
What's up? Yeah, shout out to Jamina. Good stuff. Yeah, 12 to 15 is like that magic number where you still got a couple minutes of burn left. So kind of weak on their part to roll it in. But hey, sometimes the best way to prepare for a 13 gamer is not start researching at like noon, because like at least we got some integral early news. I did the expert survey and I said my hot take was that Harden and Durant get ruled out. We have to rewrite this whole thing, and Christian Wood drops 50. So I got about a third of that. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's dive into it, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hey, one more quick thing before we get started. I'm not sure if you guys heard, but there is a free roll tomorrow night, and it's on Thrive Fantasy, and it's Chiefs free roll, folks. And I'm not talking in third person. It's literally my free roll. So get on over there. Devin may drop the link in the chat. I'm not sure. But it's kind of a big deal. Tons of fun. Prop shop people are going to be in there. Here's the crazy part. If you beat me, if anybody that finishes with a higher score than me is going to get a free week of SAO premium. Everyone that finishes above me is going to get a free week. If you come in, scores and odds, yes. If you come in first place, not only are you going to get, the $50, you're going to win a full year of Rotogrinders premium. Full year of Rotogrinders premium. Everyone that comes in second and third is going to win a full year of scores and odds premium. And everyone that beats my score on Thrive, you're going to have a full week of SAO. So just so you guys know, I'm all about trying to save the company some money here. I'm trying to come in first.
Will you take a bribe? Will you tank for the people?
No, I will not. I am a man of the people. I'm here to win, though. I want the bragging rights. If I'm going to have a name on the prop shop, I want to uphold the name. So bring your A game, people. It's going to be a ton of fun. Can't wait to get out there. You guys can hop in, too. I just don't think you'll be winning the free weeks of premium subscriptions. Get in there, folks.
Accepted.
Going to be fun.
I wasn't aware of that, but scores and odds, by the way, Justin writes there. I'm not sure if you do, Will, as well. I'll jump in. Last night, I made one pick. I made Jason Tatum over points, rebounds, and assists collectively. He did get there despite the blowout. And Luch, I saw you've been doing pretty well there too. I saw you tweeted out you went 3-0 the other day or something like that. Do you have anything up on scores and odds today? And of course, Grant, you guys know Grant's always pumping his player props, and Noto's on there, and Cards is on there, and pretty much Andre, almost everybody underneath the RG umbrella is giving their picks, gambling selections, player props, total sides, NFL, every sport. You have anything going on there tonight, Justin? What'd you drop?
Yeah, I got 4 picks up there on scores and odds, and big night from Grant the other night. Nailed a bunch of Desmond Bain stuff. Who's the market's been too low on him for most of the season.
Easy, Desmond Bain's easy
money. Hey, can we just call your free roll? Can we just call it the Chief roll? It's just easier, like the Chief roll, right? Just get it going.
I just realized we have the podcast together. You guys have your Food for Thought podcast, right? This is the twosome, is it not?
It is. When you're coming on. We always dive down some rabbit holes. We talk about Pogs and stuff. You collect Pogs as a kid, Dean?
I did not. No. It's funny actually, because we do we'll talk about this in a second, but Chief always, like, it's a running joke whenever we do the Grind the Line show Monday nights. Chief is always on beforehand talking about, the showdown slate. And he's always like, hey, I'm going to come back one of these nights. One of these nights I'm going to come back and hang out. And he never does. And his excuse is that he's recording the podcast. So it's this fake, like, yeah, I'll be back. But you know what? There's a chance we actually don't do that show Monday night. So I may be available to crash your Food for Thought podcast. I don't want to make any false promises, but
he really does record. We really do record that. He's not lying to you. So
I know he's not.
He's a nice guy. He's like the guy that leaves the party. He's like, yeah, I'll be back, but really he just wants to get out of there, right? Without saying bye to everyone. So
Irish goodbye. Yeah, that's Blender's move too. All right, let's talk about the slate. 13 gamer. Enough messing around. We're not doing game by game. We're going to focus on the things that we think needs to be focused on. We're going to talk about the chalk, talk about what's good chalk, what's bad chalk, our favorite players at each position, the injuries that are out there that have already been settled. We'll talk about those in a second, how that affects things. And of course, we're going to take your questions from chat. Chat, what up? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on the notifications and ask your questions. Again, 13 games, so we can't talk about every single player. That's literally impossible, or at least giving any sort of advice on them. Just like, yes, no, yes, maybe, sure, why not? That wouldn't be helpful at all. So if we don't mention a guy you're thinking about, ask us about him. Devin, producer extraordinaire, he's going to be compiling those names, those questions. The more details, the better. Tell us, is it for tournaments? Is it for DraftKings? Is it for Yahoo? Is it for a single entry? Is it for a large field? Is it for cash? All that stuff. The more details, the easier it is to answer those questions. Fire them off there in chat. Do hit that like button. All right. Major injuries. Will, let's talk about it. You know, Durant is the worst kept secret. Of course, Durant in the back-to-back's not going to play, and they're going to let Harden do his thing. First official game back in Houston with a crowd. First blood. If you want to, I think he played last year without a crowd. That doesn't count. Harden's going to do his thing. Amongst the studs tonight, Will, Harden is the most popular because, you know, he's the guy. He's the last man standing at first. There's no Kyrie. There's no Durant. Harden's going to do his thing, and I imagine you probably hit him up in the on the prize picks. I tried to hit it instantly when I saw the news break, and they actually locked it out. I should have anticipated that because, again, that was kind of a clear and obvious one that Durant was going to sit tonight. Is he the premier stud for you? Pretty much all studs are in play, but as far as, you know, DFS perspective, he looks like the best one for the reasons we kind of laid out.
Yeah, I definitely think Harden is, I mean, dare I say, big time in play now. You know, I do have some other thoughts about other things, right? Like, are we really going to buy into the notion that Steph Curry is going to try to hit 16 threes tonight?
I love that one.
I must say, of all the narratives, I think this might be one of the most intriguing ones. Like, does Steph Curry sit outside the three-point line and just shoot three-pointers all game? And at what point do they decide to run him off after he's hit like 8, right? Like, when does this occur? But realistically, Harden he's got to be the guy tonight. The other thing too, and I do actually watch a lot of basketball, and I'm not saying other people don't, I'm just saying generally speaking, Harden is starting to look better, right? Like earlier this season, he looked like he was out of shape, a little bit slower. You know, he just didn't have the juice, right? But if you were able to watch a little bit of that Dallas game last night, Harden's starting to get the juice back, right? It's a mojo, it's a feel. Even around the rim with all of his assists, right? His assist numbers are starting to come up. His free throw attempts are starting to come up, which tells me James Harden is about back to normal, I think. So I really like Harden tonight. For those of you that are into wacky props like me, then, you know, you might want to go and hammer the Harden 6.5 free throw attempts, because he's probably going over that tonight. He might shoot 15 free throws, but really like Harden. Definitely think he's creme de la creme in terms of stud investments on this slate.
Yeah, but just to give context as far as the Curry thing, if people are not aware, he's 15 or 16 away of the all-time
16. 16, he breaks the record. 15 ties.
To tie. Yeah. And the other part is, I think they go on a road trip after tonight. So the thought process is, it's like, you know, he wants to do it at home, right? And he's facing a Portland team that's completely decimated too.
He's just no. I'm just saying, and I know we got to move. If he's anywhere remotely close in this game, and they're up by 25, it won't matter. If he's at like 9, let's say 10. If he's anywhere around 10 in like the middle of the third quarter, they're going to let him run this thing out. I think they will let him play however long it takes for the thrill of the ride with the crowd. This is going to be fun.
You think so? Like some teams would take offense to that. Like, you know, and I'm not saying like just stop the guy. And I'm not the guy that says like you can't celebrate. But like some teams, it feels like you're rubbing it in their face. Like he's still chucking up threes up by 25 and he's at 13. But
here's the crazy part. As much as, you know, we think people in the league don't hate as much as we think people in the league hate Steph Curry, trust me, the other team has appreciation for him breaking a record too. They're going to try their best to not let him get it. But if he's remotely close, they're not going to play real defense. Hands are going to be down. He's going to come across half court, you know, maybe size a few guys up, and they're going to look like they're playing deep. And you're going to see alligator arms just all off to the side, letting them throw it up. I'm joking, but if he's close, I think they let him run.
it's a 5-game road trip after tonight for what it's worth. And it's a fun narrative, but it's unlikely at the same time. I know there was some book that offered, was it 25 or 50 to 1 odds or something like that? I can't remember. I saw it out there on Twitter. His chances of him breaking the record or tying the record tonight. It's really ambitious. What the all-time record, I think, is about 14 or 15, maybe 16. I think Curry has it. Justin, jump in here. Feel free to talk about either one of those. You want to add some thoughts as far as the Curry thing, but and also he's super expensive, like on DK, like he's more playable on FanDuel if you're going to rock him out there, but he's going to go fairly well low owned just because of price, and Harden looks better and just distribution of money looks better, but for sure you can play him in tournaments as we talked about. There is a ceiling of 15 3-pointers. Is Harden your favorite player there as far as the Brooklyn side? And also worth noting, let's throw in LMA. LMA not playing tonight, so it looks like we're projecting at least to see what's his name's going to draw the start. At least
Mr. Johnson, James Johnson.
Well, maybe not even James Johnson. It's so weird. It could be Claxton, and Claxton was out for a month with an illness.
Oh, James Johnson was going to play big minutes
or so. If you looked at his game yesterday, with Claxton, he played 3 minutes in the first half, and then he played 17 straight minutes in the second half. And I don't know what kind of conditioning he can do on a back-to-back, but and he's great with the pick and roll with Harden. Like Harden just loves throwing it up for him. Energy guy, good matchup here against Houston, and he's super cheap, obviously. Justin, what are your thoughts as far as maybe we see Blake get a little bit of run? I don't know. It's ambitious, obviously. And James Johnson, kind of a veteran. I don't know how many minutes they'll give him. They have plenty of bodies. Millsap played 3 minutes yesterday. Here's 3 minutes. That's it. He kicked him off the court after the second quarter, and he's never seen again. Or maybe it's the first quarter. It doesn't matter. Justin, thoughts as far as this Brooklyn rotation tonight?
Yeah. So in addition to that, Houston is a big pace-up spot for pretty much anybody in the league. They play at the fastest pace in the league. So even if James Johnson gets a little bit of ball handling duties, which we know he likes to do once in a while, you got to love playing James Johnson because he does a little bit of everything. He chips in a little bit of everything. That news of LMA sitting more so than KD kind of flips things for me, because now we're projecting Claxton to come in super chalk, and that stinks. You're gonna have to make a stand either way, which could really benefit you or crush you. But there are the centers on this slate. Jokic and Embiid arguably have the highest ceiling out of anybody other than Harden on tonight's slate. So I'm look. If Claxton plays 24 minutes and there's 20 to 25 FanDuel points, even at that price, I'd be okay with fading that. Jokic. The thing here is with I'm more talking roster construction now, so forgive me. But Will Barton's questionable too. So if Will Barton's also out, and we're looking at Jokic, if that news comes post lock, and we're looking at Jokic without Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., I believe PJ Dozier's still out. Austin Rivers might have COVID still. I don't know, but at sub 10% for Jokic against New Orleans, that's where my brain is going. So. It's hard to pass up on Claxton, especially if he starts. But I'm with Will. I like James Johnson at that price in his role. I think he's gonna. He could see 28 to 30 minutes if the game's close. And
what if he doesn't start? It's so weird with Johnson yesterday. Not to cut you off, but so weird with Johnson yesterday. He played 0 minutes in the first. He played a minute or so in the third, and he played every minute in the second and the fourth. So it's just odd, his rotations. Just once he's on there, he's on there.
He has to be involved.
Took him a while to get there.
You're right. We've seen him come off the bench in the past and be that usage role, which is fine. But he has to be involved without LMA and Durant. I would imagine. Steve Nash does some dumb stuff. We've seen it this year, but my money's on Johnson being heavily involved, and you'll see some more solidified first half minutes out of him tonight.
I'm just a little bit concerned about him being a veteran, and Steve Nash doesn't care about tonight versus Houston. He cares about, the playoffs, right? He cares about the NBA finals. And that's sort of my thought on Johnson. I'm a little bit hesitant. I feel like he can play 0 minutes, or I think he can play 28 to 30 minutes. If he doesn't start, I'm just slightly concerned. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Just one of those DNP CDs, just because it's a rest, not announced because, he's not a starter. Maybe it could be my paranoia. By the way, as far as Denver, you mentioned, Barton is questionable. Bones Highland expected back tonight. Bull expected back as well. Rivers is still out. Dozier out for the year. Porter out for probably the year as well. And Jamal Murray, who knows when he's coming back. But Jokic versus Embiid. Let's have that conversation, because Embiid gets a rematch against this Charlotte team that is still without everybody. Everybody they had last time is still not there. He absolutely smashed. The game went to overtime for what it's worth. But like you look at that Charlotte lineup, we talked about it when it happened. Like who is going to stop Embiid? Like nobody. There's nobody there. And Nick Richards, they threw some PJ Washington up. Good luck with that. JT Thor is a person who tried to stop him. Yeah, Will, as far as the big spends at center, Embiid versus Jokic that's a tricky conversation because both look really, really tasty.
Yeah, absolutely. And you asked who was going to stop Embiid. Thank you, Alicia Keys. No one. Nobody's stopping Embiid on the Charlotte Hornets, folks. And then bottom line is he's probably going to go off for another 60 to 70 fantasy points tonight. I want to throw something out there because I do feel like, in my opinion, Dean, this might be one of the biggest stars and scrubs slates that we can get to. Now, the problem is we have so many guys in the mid-range that are capable of putting up 50, like Oubre or Bridges or, Kyle Lowry or Hero. And I know those guys are probably more like 45-point fantasy scores. But my point is, if we go all the way up, if we go double post all the way up with Embiid and Harden or Jokic and Harden, it's going to lead us to a really stars and scrubsy bill, which generally yields us good results on DK, especially if you've looked at any type of slate IQ action in terms of NBA. That's typically the build. My concern, like I said, though, is all these mid-range plays. I think if you're going to go stars and scrubs tonight, you go all the way, Dean. That's what I think. I think you go all the way. You take Harden, you take Embiid, and you take another one. Like you go all the way. I'm talking about hope you get that 65 to 70 from Harden, 65 to 70 from Embiid, another 65 to 70 from Jokic, or another guy kind of in that range. And then you just keep plugging in all these cheap plays and see where you end up. Because there are a lot of viable cheap players that I think we can get in tonight. And maybe some you've thought about and some you haven't thought about, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Go all the way or go mid-range. That's it for me, right? That's how I think you get around this slate.
I ran some optimals. I ran 100 optimals on DK, 100 on FanDuel. I cut it off at like 65, 70%. Didn't want to have 100% of a player. I wanted to get a mixed bag. And it's interesting because on FanDuel, you're getting the max of the two studs, Joel Embiid and James Harden, just kind of the way the builds work. Embiid's really expensive on DK, a little bit trickier to make work. We're getting Harden the max on DK, but then we're getting like Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, like this kind of like not full-fledged studs. And we should mention, if y'all aren't aware, Jimmy Butler's out tonight. Of course, Bam Adebayo's out. Martin's still questionable too. Tough matchup there versus Milwaukee. They are home in Miami. It's an ESPN game.
I don't know if it's as tough as we think. Milwaukee's going to let them shoot three-pointers, and this team wants to shoot the deep ball. Duncan Robinson's going to shoot 10 three-pointers. Hero's going to shoot 8 or 9. Lowry's going to shoot another 7 to 10. PJ Tucker's going to shoot his 3 or 4.
Have you seen Robinson home? I think this is the two teams that allow the most three-pointers, if I'm not mistaken, in the league. So it's going to be all three. It's a three-point fest. That's going to be the entire game. I think Robinson, have you seen Robinson's home road splits? He's horrendous. I mean, I don't know if this stuff is real or not real. Remember we had it with what was the guy's name on Houston forever ago? Anderson? Was that the guy's name? Like for some reason, what was the guy?
Ryan Anderson.
Yeah. And like supposedly it was because they say he was like colorblind or there's the backdrop in Houston. I don't know. But like for whatever reason, small sample stuff, who knows? But Robinson's been horrendous shooting threes at home. But Milwaukee also, when they have their big three, they're awesome. I think they're undefeated so far this season. Justin, what do you have?
I must always play him at home because I never get Duncan right. This game, I have a tough time. Like, I understand the mid-range build like philosophy here, but I just have a tough time paying for Kyle Lowry on FanDuel. I guess he's probably similarly priced on DK.
He's 7,200 on DK.
Oh, I'm probably off him. I just like there seems to be more value under him. Yeah, well, Jack Harlow, Tyler Hero was popping before Jack Harlow made the song about him, and he's been pretty bad ever since. So I don't know, but I mean that's some chalk I'm willing to avoid, I guess. Man, the questionable tags just keep rolling in. I'll let you segue to that when we're done here. But like I'm gonna go back to that Brooklyn game for a second because the Houston side of things, I know we're not going game by game, but if this game's competitive and Vegas thinks it should be a decent game, Houston's been playing really well. Like, I really like Christian Wood, and he's the guy who's not projecting well anywhere today. He's coming in minimally owned, and I'm okay with it. Like, Brooklyn doesn't play defense. You got Nick Claxton for X amount of minutes, and we're talking about bringing Blake Griffin back into the rotation. Who else is going to play the 5? Like, is James Johnson going to have to play small 5? I don't know. And Christian Wood's been playing really well. Pretty small sample size, but without Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, Christian Wood has a 30% usage, which is like a 7% bump. It's about like 100-minute sample size, but like Christian Wood.
Not to cut you off, but I'm not sure what you were talking FanDuel specifically, but FanDuel Wood at 8.2K. Okay, sure. DK 9.8 for Christian Wood. 9.8. Come on, man. 9.8.
Large field stuff. Pair him with Harden. Large field stuff.
Yeah,
Game goes to overtime.
Yeah, I make my lineups just for context. I make my lineups usually for like, single entry, 3 entry stuff, or, smaller field stuff, right? So I'll throw it in the big stuff just because, but that's not where my brain is. Wood's not going to crack my lineup. I can't see that happening. And Tate is another guy who, like, man, Tate looks interesting. We saw he went absolutely nuts, a couple of days ago with, that was of course without Wood and KPJ, no KPJ, but the price on DK is all right. I think it's playable at 6.9, FanDuel 7.4. And I think there was somebody else as far as, like Levine is like 10.5 on DK. Like, that's good Lord, man.
Swallow. That's tough.
Yeah, I know. And we'll talk about Chicago. Like, I mean, can you play that well? Like, of course you can play that if you're running 150 in the massive tournament. You're looking to be different, but like, there's nothing that says that's a good play when you consider the salary. I know the opportunity is great, but there's only so much you can do.
This is where you get in on the prop game, take points plus assists or points plus rebounds and do something like that. No way I'm playing Zach LaVine at 10-3, even though I'm very aware that he could put up 60. I just can't press the button. And Dean, I do think it's important on this slate to just, especially if we've got some join.me stuff happening, which I'm sure we are, just sort this thing by point per dollar at all positions. Because I think it's important for people to see that today, how many 3 and 4K guys we have at our disposal, if we can. I think that's probably more important than the studs, in my opinion. Just figuring out which ones.
Speaking of Chicago, we're talking about Chicago. You like
it's okay, right? I mean, he's going to play 37 minutes, Dean. I mean,
is that what he's projected for? It's a lot.
It's a lot. He played 41 against Denver. Like, he's going to play minutes because so many guys are out for COVID. So you add all this up, and look, he's only projected for 19%. We've got James Johnson projected for 29%, playing a lot less minutes. Nick Claxton projected for 37%. He's not going to play 37 minutes. I do think Norman Powell is good value. He's projected at 46. Like, you can literally sort this and look and say, okay, we've got some guys that we can play here, which is why I'm so interested in having such a high floor and then kind of low floor build, stars and scrubs, of course, where I might just play Jokic and Embiid and Harden and plug in all the 3K guys and let it roll.
All right, let's just speak on this. And Paul George is now questionable. We'll talk about that in a second. And there's a lot of questionable stuff late for Portland too, which we'll delve into. It's a mess. There's a lot of stuff. But you mentioned Chicago. We're talking about Chicago. DeRozan's out. Javonte Green is out. Kobe White is out. Alex Caruso is out. And it doesn't seem significant, but Matt Thomas is out also. That's another guy that would eat some minutes up. And Dosumo, not a good fantasy point minute player in the season. He's 0.67 on DK, 0.66 on FanDuel. I think DJJ is better, and his minutes, I think, will increase in the last game. Last game, he was in foul trouble, which kind of suppresses minutes to some degree, but I think he can play 36, 37, 38. He's a better fantasy point minute player at 0.84, 0.9 on FanDuel. Good stocks guy. Super athletic, obviously. Do you have a thought on that, Carlucci, as far as Chicago? Like, do you like Dosumu as a kind of a cheapie? Do you like DJJ as a potential cheapie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more looking on FanDuel, so I think there's other places to go. I do like Derek Jones. Earlier I wrote up Derek Jones before all the news as one of my favorite value pieces, and I still think he's fine. I think he picked up. It was in a bit of foul trouble last game too. And Denver's a tough matchup, which I think Chicago in general, they're going from one tough matchup against Denver to I can't believe we're saying the Cavaliers are a tough defensive matchup, but they're good defensively and they're slow. So those are two things that you typically don't want to target players against. However, we have these massive usage bump opportunities. I don't think the pace definitely doesn't favor Zach LaVine, especially at 10K. I just don't know if there's going to be enough possessions. I understand he can score 30 real points, but he's not a huge peripheral guy as it is. Balls in his hands a little bit more, a couple more assists probably. But Lonzo Ball still has a pulse, so that kind of hurts. I think Vucevic is the interesting piece. He's 9K on FanDuel. Another tough matchup with Jared Allen, who, if it wasn't for a handful of other guys, might be the most improved player in the league. However, he doesn't pose the threat of Jokic. Like dealing with Jokic, as Vucevic did for 35 minutes last game, is much more of a daunting task than dealing with Jared Allen for 35 minutes. Vucevic has been having a terrible year. He's shooting poorly, posting the lowest usage rate of his career. Without, again, another kind of small-ish sample size, but without DeRozan and Caruso, Vucevic gets like a 4% usage bump up to 27%, which is about what he kind of averaged in Orlando for a couple of years. And against Denver, he did post a 31% usage. So it was nice to validate that. Took 24 shots, only hit 8 of them, but he had 20 and 10 and dealt with Jokic for the whole game. So I think Vuce, the discussion about centers now with Claxton being the chalk and most likely starting, and you talk about Embiid and Jokic and Vuce, and a lot of multi-positional guys too, including Christian Wood, I believe, is multi as well. Sabonis is always a high floor guy. The center position itself is super interesting tonight, but I think Vuce warrants more of a conversation than like some of these other Bulls pieces.
I also like Mobley here. You mentioned the Cleveland side. I think on DK specifically, I like his price. He cracked my top 8 as far as my rankings tonight. So if Paul George does not play tonight, it's so weird because like you'd think there'd be like a screaming value, and like my first look is like there's no screaming value. Like Reggie Jackson would get a bit of a boost, but like he's priced kind of sort of where he should be, and he should be fine. But on this slate, I don't know how much I need him. They're fully healthy. The Clippers are fully healthy. Of course, there's no Kawhi. Batum is questionable, I should say, with his conditioning issues. I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to play, but they have a bunch of guys is the point I'm making here, Will. If George sits, and also you got to kind of sort of plan for this. There are 3 games, 10 o'clock and later. This is the latest game's at 10:30. I don't know if I feel like am I going to run and play Marcus Morris all of a sudden? He's kind of priced to, he's fine. I don't see anybody that like just enthuses me. Like of course, players get a little more interesting, but originally I was going to play nobody in the Clippers is the point I was getting at. But now Paul George and all that usage goes away, and somebody should pop, but I don't know who's popping, if anybody.
Yeah, man. In terms of the Clippers, I mean, and this is a theory that, or a perspective I like to talk about anyway. Oftentimes when guys are ruled out, we're interested in one side of the basketball, when essentially what's going to happen is this might open it up for Boston to have some value as well, in which Jason Tatum and these guards aren't going to have to deal with Paul George defense. So essentially Tatum is probably in more of a smash spot now than he was before. And he was already going to get off. But I mean, I don't see anybody that's going to effectively stop Jason Tatum besides himself in this game with bad 3-point attempts. And I don't mean he can't shoot. I mean, he takes bad shots from time to time. This should open it up. For Marcus Smart.
But is he a better play than Harden, right? I think Tatum.
No. But remember, I'm already playing Harden. I'm already playing Embiid. Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
you got a salary at some point to consider.
Yeah. I mean, I'll figure it out. There's also a lot of 3K players. I can't play 2 11K guys and a 10K guy. I've got to drop down to like Vooch and below, right? So my next one is going to be a mid-range spin for what it's worth. But Dennis Schroeder could go off for 40, 50, right? You get what I'm saying? Reggie Jackson, yeah, I know Reggie's probably let us down, but he's essentially going to have the ball in his hands probably more than anybody else in this team. Maybe Terrence Mann comes into play a little bit and he picks up a few extra minutes. But, it makes it really interesting. Eric Bledsoe's at 4,300. Like now those cheap pieces are in play. So I like the Clippers, but I'm also going to like Boston. What if Al Horford sits tonight? This is a back-to-back, and he could very well sit and just hasn't been announced. And now Josh Richardson is going to play more. Grant Williams is going to play more. Enos Freedom is going to play more. Robert Williams is only 5,700. So like a lot of times we're on one side when somebody's ruled out, and I'm like, man, what's going on with the other team though? Like, what can we use from that side? So Just want to put that out there for people. And let me just say for the record, my favorite game of the night is Orlando-Sacramento. Like if I could just stack that game, the problem is I can't just stack that game because gun to my head, I want to play Harden and Embiid. But that game is going to be ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Take a minute and tell me why you like that game so much. I'm curious. I just don't know if do with Sacramento, especially if Barnes is healthy. Barnes is questionable. Harkless is questionable. Halliburton expected to play. He was ill a couple days ago. But Sacramento now has so many dudes, especially if Barnes plays. And, you know, they might play 12 guys or 11 guys. And I don't trust any rotation there with Sacramento.
Well, so, I think Rashawn Holmes is going to get his minutes. I like him at 6,300. I think Buddy Hield has a specific role on this team. I like him at 5,500. I think Therese Halliburton has a specific role on this team. I like him at 6K. Probably wouldn't play Fox. And Chemezi Metu would probably be a downgrade. And I probably wouldn't play Harrison Barnes. But he's cheap enough now to where you could. But then you go to Orlando. And while Cole Anthony might feel overpriced, he's priced appropriately for this spot. Like I said it last night, my hot take is Cole Anthony's going off for 55 this game. That's my hot take here. 55 fantasy points. Gary Harris feels ugly, feels nasty, feels disgusting. But at 3,900 against Sacramento, sign me up. Franz Wagner, 5,800, keeps cranking out 35 fantasy points. I will accept that on a slate where I want to play Harden and Embiid. Wendell Carter Jr. at 6,800. He's on the board for maybe 40 plus fantasy points. Mo Bamba might be on the board for 40 plus fantasy points. They're going to have a field day in Sacramento. This is going to be one of the easiest games they've had all week. It's just Wednesday, I know, but they just got destroyed by Golden State. Cole Anthony only played, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 27 minutes. A guy that's usually playing around 35 to 38 minutes. He's fresh. Give me Cole Anthony against the terrible Sacramento Kings.
I can play some Anthony. I like Carter a little bit too. I mean, I'm okay with those guys. But there's no chance, zero chance they play Gary Harris. None. If you see Gary Harris in my lineup, somebody's stolen my DK account. His ceiling is like 24 fantasy points, maybe.
His ceiling
maybe
is like 32 to 35 fantasy points, Dean. Stop it.
What year?
Okay, here we go. Gary Harris, mush play of the night.
Michigan State. Michigan State.
Justin, tell Will there's no chance you're playing Gary Harris tonight. None.
Not playing Gary Harris, my friend.
Hey, guess what? You don't have to. I'm playing Gary Harris.
But I might pay almost 10K for Christian Wood. So pick your poison, Gary Harris or up to Christian Wood. I don't know. But
as a matter of fact, you know what? And that's why I love this show. I just remember how enthused I was to get in on Cole Anthony tonight at 7,600. So he goes in the lineup. I was going to play Kelly Oubre. I was going to play Oubre, but Cole Anthony is going in the lineup. He's in. Let's go.
Precious Achiuwa officially ruled out. Hamidou Diallo, despite the fact he has a face, he's going to play. Nerlens Noel is questionable. He started last night, and of course, that's the night that Robinson got off on the bench. Robinson talked about getting tired after playing 6 minutes or so. So I don't know how many minutes he can actually play. But he smashed last night in his 25 minutes or so. I don't know how useful that may or may not be, but if Noel doesn't play, I presume Robinson will jump right back in the starting lineup. Let's talk about. I want to talk about Charlotte. I want to talk about Portland. Those situations I think are really important. Charlotte, all the dudes are still out. LaMelo's out. Rozier's out. Plumlee's out. Ish is out. We're running it back. Same matchup versus Philadelphia, Justin. But the prices adjusted really, really quickly. So it's not you don't just lock in your 4 Hornets and have yourself 300 DK points. The one other thing that has that was a fun night, wasn't it?
Fun.
Players. So I think Martin's the best price dollar for dollar amongst that group. And I don't foresee myself having any more than 2 Charlotte. I don't think I have to have any Charlotte, just the way the prices have adjusted. I want your thoughts, and I want Will's thoughts too, because that's his team.
Yeah, Martin's the play for me. He's also my number 1 Charlotte priority. Love what PJ Washington's been doing. Love the minutes. Hate the price. Don't know what the upside is there, of course, and potential foul trouble against the usage hog Joel Embiid. Scares me to death. So not on PJ Washington. the algos are where they need to be, probably. If not, they're close. Like, you can justify playing Kelly Oubre, I think, second in the hierarchy of Charlotte guys, in my opinion, because we've seen him be in high usage role situations before. And the 76ers do struggle against wings. The Sixers played down to their competition, taking no shots at will here, but they really should have taken care of business against this Hornets team who has 7.5 players, and they don't. They didn't. I had a plus 700 same game parlay, and all I needed was 10 points from Seth Curry the other night, and he had 6 in 41 minutes without Maxey. So, and I'm a Sixers guy too. So I think Oubre is in the conversation, but other than that, I'm with you. Probably no more than 2 Hornets for me here. What are your thoughts here, Chief?
Listen, man, they're all priced up, and they all should be priced up for a reason. The Hornets are at home, right? Here's the thing. The Hornets aren't as bad as you think. They just don't play defense. We can score points this season. This isn't the team that can't score points. Kelly Oubre, he's taking 20-plus shots. He's scoring points. Gordon Hayward can score points. Miles Bridges can score points. P.J. Washington can score points. James Bouknight can score points. Then Terry Rozier can score points. LaMelo Ball can score points. These guys can score. They're just not playing any defense, which is why I'm not worried about Philly. Philly's not going to stop them from scoring. The problem is we're not going to stop them from scoring either. So I love this game. I think you only play, maybe 2 Hornets. I think the only way you get into 3, you're going to fade Harden or Embiid. You can't play them. You're going to have to get more in the mid-range bill. If I had to take one Hornet right now, believe it or not, man, I think it's going to be Kelly Oubre, because I think he's just going to be chucking shots all game. And it didn't just start with all these guys out. Look, he comes off the bench, 10 shots, 11 shots, 14, 7, 17, 17, 19, 7. It didn't just start with LaMelo and Rozier out. He's been doing it all season. So it's only going to increase now with him on the floor for more minutes.
Couple things. I think it was
great pickup by the Hornets, by the way. And please go and free Sabonis. I don't care what you have to do. Go and get Domantas Sabonis for this team, and we'll see. We'll go into the second or third round of playoffs with this team. I'm not sure if Sabonis is actually like a guy that helps teams win, or if he's just like a guy that peppers the box score. I don't know.
He's the 76ers Tobias Harris. It just doesn't really matter. And you know what? For DFS, we love him. That's a disgusting game. No one really wants to target it. But since you talked about narratives earlier, my narrative-y thing is basically all these guys have the opportunity to showcase themselves now. They clearly don't I want to get the hell out of Indiana if I'm Brogdon, LeVert, Sabonis, Miles Turner. So, weird stuff happens when, you have a chance to showcase yourself. And if I had to pick a favorite, Malcolm Brogdon, 74, matchup's terrible, but, high floor, ton of minutes. I mean, I don't know. Just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, the rumor is supposedly some of those guys are available. I think LeVert, Sabonis, and Turner were the guys that were mentioned in the blurb. I was just going to say, PJ Washington only played 27 minutes last game, just for what it's worth. Wasn't even foul trouble. I don't think. It's just that, you can only have so many minutes on Embiid, and he played 5 more, I should say. He played 5 more in overtime. That was regulation. But they gave Richards a decent amount of run. I'm not saying to play Richards. I'm just saying maybe I presume Richards will start again, and Washington, don't expect 30-plus minutes out of him. He may get there. It's possible. But I think they played 0 minutes, I want to say. I was looking at the court IQ. I think they had played 0 minutes alongside each other. I do want to talk about the Portland situation, and this is another one that's just sort of in flux. And yeah, I saw somebody in chat. I'm jumping all over the place, but it's 13 games. Is it potentially Boucher season? Chris Boucher against OKC with no Precious Achua, and the other dude's not playing either. I didn't even write down his name. The other center they've been playing all season long.
Yeah, Birch.
There you go. Khem Birch is not playing
either. Kim Birch, not Kim the musician. Khem Birch, ladies and gentlemen.
So Boucher is a really solid fantasy point minute player. We know how he's always in the doghouse there in Toronto.
Oh gosh,
we love talking about that.
Don't talk about Bobby Boucher around me, please.
Well, you tell me who they're going to play. I mean, of course, this game could go small, like OKC. If they, who knows how many? They're happy to go small. I think
they could easily move Pascal to center and play City. Yeah. And that's exactly what they would do to screw the DFS community and Bobby Boucher. I can already about tell you they're going to play Siakam at the 5.
Well, Nick Nurse hates him. It's just it is what it is. Like, yeah, you can trust the math and the calculations, but Nick Nurse hates Chris Boucher.
If Boucher starts, I'm for sure interested in it. Like, whatever, man. It's a chance he comes off the bench and does stuff in like 24 minutes. But we talk about it. It's a 13-game slate, so you want your team should look pretty good. So 13-game slate, a lot of value. Go ahead.
If you told me right now Boucher was going to play 25 minutes, I think we'd all put him in.
Yep,
I'm in. Yeah. But I'd be lying. I don't know. I can't say that.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The more I think about it, Dean, I actually think that's what's going to have to happen here. I think Chris Boucher, I know I call him Bobby Boucher Waterboy, but I think Chris Boucher is not going to start. I could be wrong. I don't think he's going to start. I think they're going to move Sivy to the starting lineup and move Scotty to the 4, Sivy to the 3, Trent 1, Van Vliet, Trent 2, Van Vliet 1. Pascal starts at the 5, and Boucher is going to have to come in for relief and maybe play 20 to 25 minutes.
For the record, I'm pulling up our lineup HQ. Lineup HQ says it has pressure to chew over 32 minutes. Well, we're going to adjust this, obviously. We're already giving Boucher 16 minutes before the Achua news.
Yeah, so 25 minutes. I'm in. Yeah. I'm going to play Bobby Boucher tonight, whether he starts or not. That's what I'm going to do. No, seriously. Because this is how you win tournaments. And you guys probably know, man, this lineup looks tasty. I've got a single bullet.
Out Gary Harris. Take Gary Harris out and put in Boucher. I know it's different positions, but that's an upgrade.
No, I already have Boucher and Gary Harris. I am playing Gary Harris.
Get Harris out.
Gary Harris, 32 fantasy points tonight.
32. Okay.
Yep.
32. Like, what did I have X?
32 puntos.
I said furious in Spanish.
So Nick Nurse, I'm reading Toronto beat writer stuff. Man, Nick Nurse is the worst. He said Scotty Barnes will have to play some center, according to Blake Murphy, beat writer, though he's not sure who will start. He literally said OG and Birch are out indefinitely. It's unclear for the foreseeable future and potentially for many other unknown parallel futures. So
we're in the time-space continuum in the NBA now, folks.
God.
We've been there in NFL for 3 weeks.
Throw Nick Nurse in that space shuttle with Michael Strahan and just give him a week off so we can get some Chris Boucher in minutes. Like, come on, man. 20 to 25 out of Boucher. If I might take some large field wax at Boucher regardless, right? Like,
hold on.
His upside is immense here.
Man, I wish I could make a wager with the chat right now. Do you know what the chat is telling me? To play RJ Hampton over Gary Harris. I'm telling you right now, Gary Harris outscores RJ Hampton straight up. Straight up. Well, if you think RJ Hampton is going to outscore Gary Harris, you're not smoking, but Gary Harris is going to outscore him straight up. Gary Harris is going for 32.
He's saying straight up. Hampton's 3-1 and Harris is 3-9. He should score him. He should outscore him straight up.
No. This is just me poking fun, Dina. This is going to be good. When Gary Harris goes off for 32 fantasy points tonight, come see your boy. Come see your boy.
Oh, boy. We keep firing off those questions. We want to get to as many as possible. I do want to touch on the Portland situation, which is we don't know. We're just going to shrug our hands up, but it's something to monitor because they can be incredibly, incredibly thin tonight. We know Lillard's out. We know two big pieces. McCollum and Lillard are both out. That's a big deal. Anthony Simons may come back tonight with his ankle. He's questionable. Nasir Little may come back tonight with his ankle. He's questionable. Cody Zeller has got a quad, so he's questionable. And Ben McLemore's got a hip, so he's questionable. Like DSJ, if those guys are all out, should go off. And if Simons comes back, like he should be interesting. Justin, if you can do this quickly, like what are you doing with this situation? Because it's so hard to say at this point. Are you planning for it? Now you have the Clippers stuff. If like the Paul George thing falls through, that maybe have some more pivots if like it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out. But how are you planning for these late night games?
I'm going to play Norman Powell regardless in most formats. Dennis Smith's the interesting one. Played 38 minutes against the Clippers, was super chalk. A little bit of a price bump on FanDuel, only up 500 more, bigger slate, more options, 7 turnovers. You take those turnovers away, it goes for almost 7 times value here. If Paul George is off the court, the Clippers are giving up 3.5 more points per 100 possessions. Like Dennis Smith could be like in large field GPP winners if the news breaks. I just don't know if you'll be able to build accordingly well enough, until we get that news with, like you said, Simons and the rest of the supporting cast.
Got a bunch of questions from chat. I do want to just hit really, really quickly, Chief, your favorite stud, maybe your favorite fade, maybe your favorite, well, you already mentioned your favorite game. Yeah, your favorite, how about give me your favorite guard, favorite forward, favorite center, like in each one in each position. If you want to break it down, by all means, go for it. Like, give me like, but like,
yeah.
Too.
Favorite guard, Cole Anthony. Favorite forward, let's go Cody Martin. And then you said favorite center, right?
Sure.
Oh, Embiid. And listen, I mentioned those guys because Harden is obvious. I'm trying to give you the non-obvious.
That's why you didn't say
Embiid is obvious too, but what's that?
Never. Oh, that's why you said
hey,
Gary
listen,
Harris,
you guys are laughing, but he's playing Sacramento. If he was playing Cleveland, do you think I'd be mentioning Gary Harris? Of course not. Come on, guys. We live in a world of a salary cap. We also live in a world of actual matchups where certain teams are better than others.
Luke, same questions.
Okay, so contrarian-ish outside of Harden. Good guard's tough. I'll go backwards. Favorite center, Chris Boucher. Just kidding. Large field stuff though. I'm playing him. It's Embiid at center. You know, Claxton will keep that ownership in check a little bit. FanDuel, I'm taking GPP shots at Christian Wood. I know I'm like a broken record here. That's a huge usage increase and a pretty good matchup. So I like Christian Wood for tournaments. And Cody Martin.
He's got a good price over there. I like his price over there in FanDuel.
Yeah,
it's
good. Sub 10% projected. The problem is you only have so many spend ups. And I think Cody Martin, shooting guard, small forward eligible. I know that's not a sexy pick, but he's multi-positional. And I think he's the guy I'm prioritizing tonight for sure.
Is Martin your quote unquote favorite value play tonight? DJJ's in the conversation. AO's in the conversation, I guess.
What's James Johnson on DK? I like him.
3,300, fam.
It's James Johnson. It's James Johnson, no doubt about it.
So, and he's popping on our stuff. And like, what if he's not starting, or we're expecting him not to start and just assuming that nothing goofy's happening? That's I'm being paranoid.
Yeah, Martin has. You know what? I think Martin gives you a little bit of a safer floor, I guess. But
because he's going to play 35 minutes. Correct. That's the thing. Yeah. Martin is going to get the minutes for sure.
That's happening.
I do think Reggie Jackson is sneaky for tournaments too. 55 on FanDuel. It's just these late. This is a massive slate with so much news. We're waiting on so much.
I'm going single bullet in the $15 tonight on DK. That's how confident I am in Gary Harris, people. Matter of fact, let's bump this thing. Gary's going for 42. 42. No. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You didn't like Lowry. Luke, you didn't like Lowry. Do you like Hero? I mean, if that game stays close, it's got to be because Hero's doing things. I assume it's because Hero's doing things.
I'm just having a hard time trying to put my finger on that game, to be quite honest at this point. I just don't know if I'm going to land on either one of them with some of the guards I'm looking at. We talked about Cody Martin, Harden. I'm playing. Norman Powell will most likely be in my lineup. So it depends, what my salary situation is like. So I guess I'll say I'm not exactly prioritizing Lowry for tournaments, but like I'm okay with it if I end up with him. I don't know. That game's a tough one. I think one other guy in terms of speaking of, like, he's at such a high ownership that I'm okay with taking, I'm okay with fading Lowry. Similar salary, another guy who we're projecting to be over 30% is Jaren Jackson Jr., who is maddening to roster. I just don't think I'm gonna land on him either. I nailed some of the props he had a couple nights ago, where he went out in the crazy 70-point win, had him for 25 plus points at like plus 375, but he averages almost 6 fouls per 36 minutes. He is worse than the AAU player at the local high school down the street from you, Dean. I don't know. So I have a tough time. I have a tough time paying for him at that ownership too.
All right, knocking out questions from chat. I'm going to ask you first, Justin. This one, I'm going to give you a second, so I'm going to pivot the wheel in a second. Warningwood wants to know, Justin, DK tournament, give me a guard, 6.3K or less specifically. Just sit on that. I'll give you a minute. Will, I'm going to ask you, do you have thoughts as far as Stewart, the center Stewart for Detroit? Any interest for DK tournaments?
No.
Luke, you got a guard for me? 6.3K on DK or less?
Can you give Will one more while I bring up DK quick?
Yeah. Will, this is for John. John wants to know thoughts on Steven Adams. We haven't talked about Steven Adams DK, GPP, Dallas gives it up to centers.
Yeah, I mean, at 4,900, he's in. Love it. Fire him up.
Yeah, he just, he's got to get there through points and boards, which he can, I guess. But like,
He's been getting there through points recently. Recently, he's been scoring.
FanDuel tournament for Luch. This is Luch specifically. Is Gary Trent a decent value play? Gary Trent. You have two questions, Luch. Gary Trent for Keelan, and Morningwood wants a DK a GPP guard for 6'3" or less.
I was gonna say Gary Trent 6'2" on DK coming in at 1%. I don't mind him.
How much is Trent on FanDuel?
Trent is, I believe he's 59. I could be wrong. Let me look. Anyway, Reggie Jackson 62. And I think if you're willing to wait for the right news, if it drops, I think that could be potentially a tournament winner. Yeah, Trent's 59 on FanDuel. I don't hate Gary Trent. Again, with all the guards we were talking about, I'm probably not going to land on a lot of him. But for large field stuff, I can endorse Trent for large field GPP. But
you sure you didn't say Gary Harris?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, you could do a lot of work with Gary Harris. 2 years ago, he was probably 6K.
Before he had the what did he have? The Achilles? I think the Achilles injury ruined his career. With Denver, he was pretty good once upon a time. So Will, DK tournaments for Stan. You like Ball or you like Anthony? That's tough.
Anthony, come on, man. It's Cole Anthony time.
Yeah, I think Ball's gonna be good tonight too, but he had a ton of potential assists the other night. All right. Don Yeezy's getting ambitious here. Luch, DK tournament thoughts for Cam Thomas. That's a little too ambitious for me. Is it too ambitious for you?
Oh, God.
Don Yeezy's my guy.
No. That wasn't Don Yeezy. Sorry. That was me looking at Kelly Oubre at 6,800 on FanDuel. Good Lord.
Like
what are we doing? What are we doing, FanDuel? Come on.
Don Yeezy's my guy, so I might be able to give him an oh God too. But Don, you're the man, but I'm not going there tonight.
Would it surprise anybody if Brooklyn just goes small and plays Bruce Brown for 35 minutes? We've seen him play some center this year. Like that's happened. Like he's theoretically play the center position.
Listen, I saw Bruce Brown on Luka last night. Luka tried to body him. He got around. It was like, nah, give me that ball, son. Give me that ball.
By the way, if Luka doesn't play, Brunson's a really good play. We should just say that. Like Luka's questionable. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, but the Brunson burner would get unleashed if Luka does not play. He is questionable. Question for FanDuel tournaments, Desmond Bain or Ayo. That doesn't make any sense. The prices are completely different, are they not? Yeah, Dosumu is a lot cheaper than Bain, so I don't know how to answer that. Like Bain's better, but Dosumu might be a better value play. Thoughts on Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, and somebody wants to know about Conley as well too. And I think the most interesting guy for me on Utah is Gobert. We have Hassan Whiteside is questionable, and if he sits, Gobert grabs a few extra minutes. He can get up to 36, 37, 38 in a good matchup. So for me, that's the most interesting guy in Utah. Justin, you have a thought as far as Utah? Also, Rudy Gay played backup center for what it's worth when Whiteside was out. But that's it. That's my Utah stuff.
No, but on the other side of that game, it's worth mentioning D'Angelo Russell is out. Anthony Edwards has been pretty disappointing lately, and it's a brutal matchup. But, you want to talk about large field GPP as a guy in a higher usage role. Anthony Edwards, is a good large field look. And I will say if Bruce Brown starts, I mean, he's super cheap on both sites. He does love peripherals. So in a high pace Houston game, start him at the 5. Let Christian Wood have his day. Go for it. I don't care.
Would it make sense in DK Cash to spend down on guards instead of Lowry and Hero? Well, you want to play Harden. So like you got to have Harden Cash. Like you just have to. Like that's where you start. Simons could be good if, things kind of work out for him as far as the news in Portland. We don't have that just yet. But I think Hero and Martin are also two players. Martin's your cheapie. But Hero is probably a guy I would play in cash as well. You can play Lowry also. I slightly prefer Hero to him. So that's my thoughts there. New person in chat, Will. Well, no, let me ask this to Justin. FanDuel question. Christian's new. FanDuel tournament. Can I play Gabe Vincent, Chris Boucher, Caleb Martin, and Tyler Hero? Is that worth it on a build? I mean, Gabe Vincent, you definitely want Martin to be out, and he's questionable. I think you want Martin to be out. Like they are kind of thin, and you don't really know who it's going to be amongst Strus, amongst Robinson, amongst Martin. It's kind of ambitious. Boucher's kind of ambitious, but like for tournaments, sure. Thoughts?
I wouldn't, but if you want to throw something in very, very low dollar stake wise, that's just a ton of volatility. Super scary for people together.
Will, would you play Duncan Robinson in tournaments? I'm probably not getting there.
No, not going to get there.
I hate that guy.
He's just so 3-point dependent. And like we talked about this before, he can only do so much. Like that's it. Like he's got to make 6 or 7 threes, which he can do.
But he does
just kind of fall into a couple of rebounds. That's possible.
But I would take the 2.5 3-point over against Milwaukee.
I like that too. Yeah, but that's only 9 points. But yeah, he's got to get more.
It's just a prop. It's just a prop.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a good call. Shannon wants to know, Luch, Nurkic, big usage for Portland, right? Golden State is, is he good for that game? Is he good for that Golden State game? In theory, if that game is close, and who knows, again, they're without Lillard, they're without McCollum, but you'd think they'd have to lean on Nurkic and just maybe Golden State adjust. They're not going to adjust either. They're going to play their small game, kick Looney off the court. What do you think about Nurkic tonight?
I think he's a good GPP play. I saw Tuttle wrote him up. His minutes have been extremely sporadic as it is, even when they've been shorthanded. But I'm going to look at some Nurkic numbers up real quick. Throw one back to Chief real quick, and I'll get back to you.
All right. We got to step aside and get out of here in just a second. Make way for Crunch Time, Andy and Roth. And I'm sure there's somebody else that's going to be talking to tournaments as well. If any more news breaks, they will break it down for y'all. Chief, I got one more for you for the road. Late slate. Which superstar is the best fade? Pick 2 out of ABC, SGA, FVV, Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Siakam.
I need to pick 2?
Yeah. So give me the best superstar fade and pick your 2 favorite out of ABC, SGA, FVV, Middleton, Holiday, Siakam. We didn't talk about this.
Realistically, as much as I want, I think the superstar fade is Jason Tatum. Overall, just because he's at 10K. And then I think out of that group, probably give me Siakam because of the depth disparity. And then who are the other ones? I know you mentioned Fred VanVleet, not him.
I can hear the sweat beads coming off, Devin. We have to step aside and get out of here and make way for time. Hey, Andre's in chat knocking out some questions too. Appreciate that, Andre. Yes, DJJ is a good play. They're asking about DJJ in there. Claxton feels like he's going to be super chalky, which is weird, but I get it. And it's going to be volatile, but you might absolutely need him because he can 10x his salary for sure. That was Devin producing. That was Will. That was Justin. You guys are premium members. Stay tuned for Crunch Time. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button on the way out. Do subscribe. Do turn on notifications. We're out of here. Oh.